the Key and Peele situation is crazy. Apparently, there's something going on between Key and Peele. Um, as a fan of the Key and Peele show on Comedy Central, I always thought that they had been the best of friends. And even when the show ended, I thought that they still was like best friends. So I never even knew that there was a situation to be had, but apparently there's something to be had between the two. So let's listen in and find out.
Fans were shocked when Key and Peele abruptly announced that they would be ending their iconic sketch comedy show in 2015. At the time,
now I just also want to say that I have seen just about every single skit, if not all of them. I've seen them all. I still occasionally watch them when I see them on YouTube, and even when I come across them on social media on Instagram, I still save them, like them. There's some iconic comedy skits ever to exist, in my opinion. That show has been monumental in the comedy world, sketch comedy world. So just want to put that out there. I'm very familiar with the show, but again, that's why this has caught me off guard that apparently there's something happening between them.
Everyone assumed the duo was simply ready to move on to bigger opportunities, and that was true for one of them. Jordan Peele's Hollywood career skyrocketed, becoming one of the most respected filmmakers in the industry. Keegan-Michael Key, on the other hand, has been jobbing for commercials and insignificant roles in films, which is shocking because Key was always considered...
I mean, like, I feel like already he's trying to make it seem like Key is like smaller or isn't as successful. I would say he's been doing a lot of things, even though he hasn't starred in like a major series or anything since Key and Peele, but I feel like he's still been steadily busy. Like he's been working nonstop. So I can't say I don't like how he's trying to belittle him. Like he's trying to make it seem like he's not as big or as important, or like he's like his career derailed and he fell off a cliff or something. But whatever.
Considered the more popular of the two and expected to be more successful in the long run. But recently, a comedian who worked closely with Keegan revealed something that completely changed the way fans looked at Key and Peele's relationship. And now many are looking back at awkward interviews, strategic silence, and most importantly, how Keegan's wife may secretly be the reason why the duo feels so distant today. However, there are a lot of baseless rumors and misinformation.
I mean, I didn't even know that he was married, to be honest. I don't think I've ever seen his wife in anything. Or I don't think I've ever seen him talk about his wife. To be fair, I don't see a lot of interviews with Key. I haven't really watched a lot of things outside of Key and Peele itself. So, I mean, I guess I could have missed something there, but I didn't even know he was married.
Spreading, as well as important facts we need to dive into before you come to the conclusion of what happened to Key and Peele. Despite the show only running for 3 years, the legacy and impact of Key and Peele cannot be minimized. Just take a look at the Comedy Central YouTube channel. 18 out of their 20 most viewed videos are all Key and Peele sketches, amassing over a billion views just on YouTube alone. Think about all the classic Comedy Central roasts, TV shows.
Like, I've laughed so much from those comedy sketches, and even to this day, I think recently I just came back from Arizona about 2 weeks ago. I lied, a week ago, and I think we watched a few Key and Peele skits while we were there. It was always funny, bro. Always funny.
Those and stand-up specials, none of them can even hold a candle to Key and Peele. But it could not have happened if the two didn't develop a deeply personal connection off screen. They were both raised as biracial children to a black father and a white mother, growing up with the unique identity of being mixed. Sometimes they felt that they were never black enough. Sometimes they felt they were never white enough, and were forced to code switch to assimilate with whoever was in the room. This shared life experience would become central to their comedy and to their chemistry in life in general. After moving from Detroit to Chicago, Keegan-Michael Key crossed paths with Jordan Peele, making the rounds in the local improv comedy scene. The two realized they had incredible synergy, so they started working together and were eventually picked up as writers and talent on the Fox sketch comedy show Mad TV.
Banker is prepared to offer you.
I briefly remember Mad TV. Like, it might have been a little bit young for me. But like I've never really watched Mad TV, but I knew it existed. Like I've heard of the show. I might have caught an episode here or there, but I've never actually watched this show. But I know about the show, and I know that this was also a pretty popular, iconic show at the time.
$350,000.
No deal.
We going for the million, dog. We going for the million. We going for the million. We going for the million. Don't matter what you say, because we're going for the million.
The few sketches that they did together on Mad TV displayed their incredible chemistry and indicated that they needed their own show.
What do I always say? Stay on the inside.
Jinx! No backsies, no penny taxis.
What?
You ain't supposed to talk. Jinx! Double jinx! Triple jinx!
Why is it? Hold on. Okay, maybe that's just the quality of the video itself.
Googleplex!
I was about to say, but it's 1080p or something.
Hey, guys!
Interruptions! Hands up, seas! Jinx, jinx, go away! Come again another day!
Like, how can you watch these two and not at least crack a smile? Like, their energy together is just something different. It is. It's just like a comedy duo match, like a perfect match. You just can't. It's hard to like not at least smile when you watch these two.
Unfortunately, their time on Mad TV was short-lived until the entire program was canceled in 2009. Afterwards, Key landed a supporting role in the short-lived sitcom Gary Unmarried, which was canceled in 2010. Meanwhile, Jordan's pilot for a comedy show titled The Station had been shut down by Fox executives, leaving both of them without work. That's when their shared talent manager suggested that the two get together and try to launch their own project.
So my sitcom got canceled and his pilot for Fox didn't go. And our manager said, would you guys be interested in doing something together? Because I've got a situation that I think I can leverage.
The result of this was them creating their own sketch comedy show called Key and Peele, which was picked up by Comedy Central and slated for a 2012 release. Their series debut came right after the season 4 premiere of Tosh.0, setting the comedy duo up for the biggest opportunity of their careers. And to say they capitalized on it would be an understatement. Two of their most iconic sketches were in the very first episode, starting with a classic where the two attempt to say a forbidden
I said, bitch. I told you, I know them all. I can just look and tell you which skit it is.
word in regards to their wives, which by the end of this video, you'll see how incredibly ironic it is that this was the very first Key and Peele sketch.
I looked this woman in the eye. I said, bitch, you told me 6:45.
You said that?
Yeah, I said,
In the same episode, their next bit was Jordan
Anger translator. I know them all. I mean, it's obvious, but anger translator. Like, come on, another popular one.
acting as President Obama giving a speech to the country, and Key acting as his anger translator, turning his respectful words into aggressive commands.
I just want to say to my critics, I hear your voices, and I'm aware of your concerns.
so maybe if you can chill the hell out for like a second, then maybe I can focus on some, you know.
The show was an instant hit. Over 2 million viewers tuned in for the debut episode, and future episodes would continue to pull in millions of viewers. But before we get into that, we all live busy lives. There are so many things to do, and it never feels like there's enough time in the day. You should probably go get that yearly checkup to make sure Doc makes the process a whole lot easier. Zop appointment off your to-do list.
Just gonna go ahead and
Every season they put out a new sketch that would become a cultural staple, like the East-West College Bowl, where they poked fun at ridiculous names of college athletes.
Hingle McCringleberry, Penn State University.
Le Carpetron Duke Maria, Florida Atlantic University.
Ridiculous Morgan, University of South Florida.
Speaking of names, we have to mention
Aaron. I think this was probably the first skit I've ever seen from them. This was probably the first skit that I seen go viral of them, of this show, and I was hooked from here. This is the first one.
The substitute teacher bit, where Key cannot pronounce extremely common American names.
So why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron? Because it's pronounced Aaron? Son of a...
You done messed up, Aaron!
People still call me Aaron to this day. To this day. They had a way of making relatable humor refreshingly absurd, but I personally liked when they would lean into their ridiculousness a little more. My favorite sketch of theirs is Prepared for Terry's, where the two act as borderline schizophrenics who are trying to convince the passenger next to them that they will protect the entire plane if a terrorist tries to take over.
You gonna have to be ready to kidnap a Terry.
You're gonna have to be ready to torture a Terry.
I don't think that's necessary.
Absolutely. You have to fireboard those mother jammers.
And if this is somehow the first time you're ever hearing of Key and Peele, I think the biggest sign of their success and cultural significance is that the literal president of the United States invited Keegan-Michael Key to do a remake of their anger translator bit, but during a real speech.
Because despite our differences, we count on the press to shed light on the most important issues of the day.
And we can count on Fox News to terrify old white people with some nonsense.
In 3 short years,
This is probably one of my favorite as well. The excessive celebration. I love this skit. It is so stupid, but it's funny at the same time. It is so goddamn stupid. I love it.
Key and Peele managed to create a culturally iconic sketch comedy show filled with quotable moments reminiscent of early 2000s comedy films. And since YouTube and social media was on track to replace TV and movie theaters, Key and Peele proved that the future of comedy was in good hands. But then, shockingly, in 2015, Keegan-Michael Key announced that they were ending the show. This is our final season, and I
don't even remember when they really ended the show because it was Key and Peele just kept playing on repeat on Comedy Central, and they had so many different skits. I always see memes like there's always one you hadn't seen yet, so they kept playing new ones, and you would always see ones that you hadn't seen previously, and so you would just think it's a new episode or something. At least that's the way I saw it. So I never really truly knew when the show ended. I just knew it was always showing on Comedy Central. It was always on TV.
Not because of Comedy Central, it's us. It was just time for us to explore other things, together and apart. I compare it to Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. We might make a movie and then do our own thing for 3 years and then come back and do another movie. Fans were initially disappointed, but in a way, the show lived on much longer than 3 years due to its success on YouTube. Over the years, fans would be scrolling YouTube and randomly see a Key and Peele sketch get recommended to them. It could be one they've seen a dozen times or one they didn't even recognize,
TikTok,
but if they click, they can get a guaranteed laugh. Plus, in 2016, the duo released their action comedy film, Keanu, seemingly indicated that their future Hollywood careers would be them working side by side. The duo served as both the writers and leading actors for the film, which gave the movie a sense of familiarity for fans of the show. Now, the film was met with a lukewarm response from critics, and it only grossed $20 million in the box office. Considering the film's $15 million budget, plus the millions of dollars spent on advertising, the movie significantly underperformed. With that being said, the movie wasn't bad, it was just the first step in a new chapter for the comedy duo. But then, Jordan Peele shocked the world with the announcement of his directorial debut psychological horror film, Get Out. The movie followed a young black man named Chris visiting the wealthy white family of his girlfriend, who didn't know that he was black. The family initially appeared to be progressive and accepting towards the boyfriend, but it was awkward. Like they were so eager to express their appreciation for black culture. The family's hired staff to help with their house duties are all black and behave strangely. All of their white friends are overly interested in Chris, seemingly obsessing over his black identity. Later, Chris finds out that his girlfriend had been dating black people all of her life, but luring them to her family's estate where they would be hypnotized, psychologically manipulated, and then sold for a sinister procedure. The family would surgically remove the black person's brain and replace them with the consciousness of the aging white clients who wanted to continue.
It's such a crazy concept when you think about it. Like when you watch the movie, you're just like, it's a horror movie. It was really good. But when you hear it broken down like this, and you like, God damn, like that's a crazy concept. Very strange, very interesting. But again, this is not something you really think about when you watch the movie itself. Only when you hear it being spoken, like described in this way, do you really realize that was really the plot. That's an interesting theme.
living through the younger black bodies. The scariest part is that the victims themselves wouldn't fully die either. Their consciousness would remain trapped deep inside their own minds in what the film calls the sunken place, forced to helplessly watch someone else control their body forever. Jordan was one of the trailblazers in weaving social commentary in a genre film in the 2010s. The film was universally celebrated for its terrifying atmosphere, uncomfortably hilarious moments, and unapologetic social commentary. With a $5 million budget, the movie grossed $250 million at the box office and received countless awards from various institutions, including the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. Overnight, Jordan Peele went from that funny guy from Comedy Central.
I'm curious as to how that money is distributed. Like, obviously, you know, the companies that, you know, own the rights to it and all that get probably the majority of it. But that's a lot of money off of one movie. Like, imagine if you had like a few hits like that and you were like, that's billions. That movie made a lot of money. A lot of people got rich from that movie, or more rich, I should say. A lot of people got more rich from that movie.
To a legitimately serious creative mind in the entertainment industry. What's interesting is that Keegan-Michael Key was primarily regarded as the heavy hitter of the duo. In 2015 and 2016, Key was nominated for
I've never really seen either one of them, you know, better than the other or more important than the other. I've always viewed them on like equal pedestals, if that makes sense. I've never looked at them and thought, you know, oh, this one will be more popular or more successful than this one. I don't know. That's just me. I've never looked at him in that way.
Outstanding supporting actor in a comedy series at the Emmys. However, Peele was not nominated for the same role. Key also gained his relevancy from his appearance at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, something that Peele was also excluded from. Not to mention that Key received way more acting gigs in major TV.
I mean, but it makes sense that Peele was kind of not like excluded from that. He played Obama, so then who would he be if now that Obama's actually there? You know what I mean? So of course he wouldn't be a part of that. That just makes sense. Of course he's not going to be, you know, in the skit he was playing Obama, but now that Obama's actually there, you know, I mean, I'm sure they probably could have made of something if they wanted to, but to keep it authentic, it just makes sense that real Obama and then Keegan as the anger translator. That makes sense.
Shows and movies during Key and Peele's run. Most people believed Key would be the more successful of the two, and yet Jordan was now receiving worldwide praise without Key's involvement at all. Well, that's not entirely true. Keegan-Michael Key is actually a major reason why Get Out got made in the first place.
Were you reading this at all as he was writing? Were you involved in it all?
Yeah. He said I wasn't involved in any of the writing, but he sent me the script, and I remember at one point in time I either wrote him. No, I was in the room and I came into the office the next day and I put the script on his desk. I went, ooh, I said, this could be something. And then I went and talked to a good friend of mine, Sean McKittrick. I made a movie with Sean McKittrick from QC Entertainment, who made it, and I said, you guys should really read Jordan's script. And then now here we are. And like Sean came up to me at a party and he hugged me. And I'm like, why are you hugging me? He's like, you brought the script to me. And I was like, look, but it was amazing. I could bring 1 million scripts to you, but if it wasn't that amazing, who would have made it? It's such a fresh story.
And as if things...
So I'm curious, was he not going to go through with the script hadn't Keegan, you know, egged him on and been like, oh no, this is good? Like, I wonder if Jordan was like, you know, what do you think about the script? And if he was like, and if Keegan was like, nah, you know, that ain't it, would he have just trashed it? You know, so if he was actually the reason why that movie went to go ahead and be made, then, you know, he did have a big impact on the success of it, essentially.
Things couldn't get any better for Jordan. He followed up with a producer role on the 2018 film Black Klansman, which also received 6 Academy Award nominations. And in 2019, Jordan continued his reign of dominance as a director with the release of Us, a psychological horror film following a family on vacation that gets terrorized by another family that looks exactly like them. Once again, critics and fans loved it. The film grossed over $250 million worldwide against a budget of only around $20 $20 million, proving Get Out wasn't some lucky one-time success. In just a few years, Jordan Peele had fully transcended comedy and established himself as one of the most commercially successful and critically respected directors in Hollywood. And with every massive success, the gap between him and Keegan-Michael Key only seemed to grow wider. Key stayed consistently busy between 2016 and 2020, stacking dozens of television appearances, voice acting roles, commercials, guest spots, and supporting performances across sitcoms, animated shows, and streaming series. Shows like Modern Family, The Simpsons, Archer, Friends from College, and Green Eggs and Ham. Instead of evolving into a singular creative force with a clear artistic identity.
But and again, I don't like the way he's trying to belittle him. Like, he's trying to make it seem like he's not successful in his own. Like, he is successful. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's clearly keeping busy. He's doing what he wants to. Maybe he doesn't want to be a director or with Jordan, or go down the route Jordan's going down. You know, maybe this is what he wants to do. He just wants to be an actor. That's completely fine. Why is he trying to make it seem like he's not successful as well? He's constantly, like, it's not like he's not doing anything. He's staying busy. He's doing TV shows, commercials, you know, movies. That's success. I don't know what you define as success is, but that's success to me.
Shows like Modern Family, The Simpsons, Archer, Friends from College, and Green Eggs and Ham. Instead of evolving into a singular creative force with a clear artistic identity.
A singular creative force. He probably just doesn't want to do that. You know.
Key slowly started feeling more like a talented utility player in Hollywood. He was everywhere, but never the main character. And after Jordan's third directorial release, Nope, in 2022, which was yet another resounding success loved by fans and critics, you could argue that Jordan Peele has completely eclipsed his role in Key and Peele, with his efforts as a horror writer and director becoming the focal point of his legacy. The same cannot be said for Key, as many still remember him primarily as the guy from Key and Peele. I think it's interesting that Key is doing commercials that show up on Hulu, and Peele is one of the
But commercials, that's what he probably wants to do. And again, we're not going to belittle commercials like they don't make a lot of money. Depending on the company or the commercial or the production company or who you are, you can make a lot of money off of commercials. There are a lot of brands that will pay a lot of money for certain celebrities to be in commercials. So he's making his bag just as much as Jordan is. I don't see the issue.
Driving forces of cinema. I kind of hate comparing them because Key is also incredibly talented, but Peele is truly on another level. And while they may have grown apart in the public eye, very few question the legitimacy of their friendship behind the scenes. And that's because they did things like joining forces in a Netflix animated film called Wendell and Wild, where Jordan and Keegan serve as voice actors for two of the primary characters. And although the animation was captivating, many fans felt disappointed in the story. The duo also teamed up in Toy Story 4 to play side characters Ducky and Bunny. People had assumed that because they did these collaborations that everything was all good between them, but Key would speak on this directly during an interview in 2024. We don't see each other that often anymore, which is, to me, a tragedy. Key went on to explain in a separate interview that them living far apart from each other played a major factor in their estrangement. Whenever we have an opportunity to see each other, we do. Whenever we have an opportunity, I certainly enjoy spending time with him, so when my travels take me to Los Angeles, he's usually one of the first calls that I make.
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused. Is he trying to draw, like, is he trying to make a point that something like they have bad blood? That's what the title makes me seem like. He's saying they have bad blood, some type of falling out, something happened, and they're not friends anymore. But it sounds like they just grew apart because they physically are apart. You know, like, duh, you're going to see each other less if you don't live near each other. You know, Jordan's going off to do his thing, Keegan's doing his thing, and they don't live near each other. So, of course, you're not going to hang out as much. And they're both working in the entertainment industry, keeping busy. So they also don't have as much time to probably collaborate and do all types of stuff together. That sounds like common sense to me.
I land and I go, hey buddy, we're in town. And often we get to have dinner. Our relationship is like a good...
So yeah, he's saying they still, when they do connect, they still hang out. So I don't so far I don't see an issue. I don't see, you know, so far the title of the video does not match what I'm watching.
Friends relationship, where you pick up where you left off, or the little things that you shared in the past, you just go right back into it again. I look forward to seeing him in 2025. What's interesting is that Jordan Peele gets interviewed way more than Keegan because he's way more active and front-facing in Hollywood, and yet he has said literally nothing about his former comedy partner, which creates the appearance that Jordan Peele has moved on while Key continues to live in the past. Like when Key was asked about a Key Peele reunion, and he said, "Right now we're expressing ourselves that way, and I think we'll find ourselves back together. I do not have a timeline for that, but I would jump at the chance to work with him again in any capacity." Fans had no reason to believe that there was any bad blood between them. Maybe they had simply grown apart naturally over time, but that assumption started falling apart after a comedian who worked closely with Keegan publicly shared a story that completely changed the way people looked at Key and Peele's relationship. In April of 2026, comedian Akilah Hughes shared her experience working with Keegan-Michael Key using the not-so-subtle code names of Locke and Banana.
He is, and I don't think this is too shady, I think it's true, the less successful half of a comedy duo that was prolific in
the less successful half. You already starting off shady. The less successful half. Okay.
The 2010s. Perhaps, you know, I think their code names could be Locke and Banana.
She also tweeted, "If you ever wondered why K and PEL don't work together anymore, watch the next video in this thread." So there is absolutely no confusion in regards to who this story is about. Akilah got connected with Keegan-Michael Key while developing her own sketch comedy show, not necessarily for his creative input, but because she needed an established celebrity attached as an executive producer to help make the project more attractive to networks and studio executives, which is very common in the industry. But with Keegan came his wife, Elle Key, who supposedly wiggled her way to an executive producer role for the show.
My agent at the time calls me and she goes, "How is pitching going? How do people feel about Locke?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, they love him. Everybody loves him."
I'm confused. What even is this that we're watching? Like, what is this type of stand-up mixed with like poetry-ish? I'm confused with what this actually is, but it's not important. It's not relevant to the video, so I'll keep going.
Locke. And she's like, "That's great, that's great. How do they feel about his wife, who is now somehow the executive producer on my show?" And I'm like, you know, I hadn't really thought about it. I don't think people like her very much.
But the strategy was effective. Having Keegan on as a producer landed them an official offer from Disney. Then one day, Akilah was contacted by Jordan Peele's wife, Chelsea Peretti, warning her about Keegan's wife and her involvement.
She says, "I'm just calling you because I wish someone would have warned me." She does about an hour of a monologue at me about how, you know, she thinks that his wife is like Phil Hartman's wife. That she wouldn't trust her to hold a baby. That she once poured alcohol on her birthday cake and this person is sober. And she says there's no accounting for how much money she's cost that black man.
Despite the warning, Akilah continued working with them. After all, she had quit her job and moved to LA to chase this dream, but it proved to be a mistake. Apparently, Elle, who remember was not ever asked to be a part of this show, continued to insert her unwanted opinions in the writer's room.
Her notes are, "Comedy happens in threes. The letter K is funny. And finally, give the audience some candy." Now, how do you implement these notes?
No idea what the hell that means. I don't know if that was like a subliminal message or like a riddle. I have no idea what that even means.
None of the writers thought her ideas were good or funny, so they were ignored, to which Elle responded by threatening to sue the network. Akilah doesn't add much context here, but she is trying to make the accusation that Elle was just trying to ruin the project since it wasn't going her way. As a result, the show was stalled and eventually was canceled altogether.
And so That is just a project that I could not talk about that was.
I mean, if that's true, which I don't know, it could be. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But if it is true, I think Keegan's wife seems kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how to say. Like she's using him in a way to get in positions she wouldn't otherwise be in. That makes sense. Because she's saying she's the executive producer. I don't know. And she probably shouldn't be, I guess.
Never announced. That was supposed to be my dream.
Now, first of all, there weren't many jokes in Akila's performance. The inclusion of the live band made this some kind of exaggerated live podcast gossip.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, what is her thing? Like, what is the scheme of her stand up? But okay. See, I'm on the same wavelength. We on the same wavelength. I said it before you even got to the okay.
Story time session, so it couldn't exactly be brushed off as, oh, well, it's just a joke. And even though all of the details Akila shared are incredibly vague, it's unlikely she would create a 12-minute story of completely baseless lies, especially considering the allegations aren't really that scathing. Like the idea of established Hollywood celebrities derailing a dream project for an upcoming creator because it didn't go their way sounds like something that happens every day in Hollywood. But it was this small added detail at the very end of Akila's performance that has completely changed people's perspective of Keegan-Michael Key.
He never gets to be himself in public, and his partner has won Oscars. And everyone knows that his wife has ruined his career. It is diminishing returns. He's doing insurance commercials.
After she said that, since
I mean, that's money. You know, I've never been in an insurance commercial, but it doesn't take the genius to know that someone like him will probably be in one of the major ones, and it's still money. So again, back to the, diminishing his, success. I don't know. Yeah, but I'm curious to see how it is that she ruined his career. Let's find out.
Sensationalized headlines emerge from Akila's performance. Akila Hughes says she knows exactly why Key and Peele don't work together anymore. Key's crazy wife destroyed Key and Peele, and while Akila never said it directly, fans jumped to conclusions that Key and Peele had been driven apart by Key's annoying and power-hungry wife. And there is actually a little bit of evidence to back up those claims. 8 months before this story blew up, a blind item emerged about Key's wife. Personally, I happen to know that L. Key IRL is a massive narcissist and straight up abusive to the working people in her vicinity. She's using Keegan's talent, fame, and likability to get herself in the...
What did I say? What did I just say? I literally just said that. She's using his stardom to get in places she wouldn't otherwise be able to get into. I said that.
Room in front of cameras, a microphone, calls herself a producer or director, and cuts a paycheck. Obviously, she needs to use Keegan because she has no talent or skill sets of her own to stand out without him. Everyone close to him who cares about him sees the abuse and wishes he'd leave her. And while this might sound like even more gossip, this allegation holds weight with a little more factual context. Elle Key, whose real name is Elisa Pugliese, was an aspiring actress who couldn't land anything more than being an extra with no lines or no significance to the plot. From there, she transitioned to...
Damn. Goddamn.
being a producer for small-time, low-budget independent drama films that had an extremely small or...
Oh, so she's using him to finally live out her dream. That's what I'm getting at, right? She's using him so that she can finally find success where she always wanted it, but was unsuccessful in doing so. Okay, we're getting somewhere.
No theatrical release. She met Keegan at a film festival and
still have yet to tell us how it's directly tied to Key and Peele, but I guess we're getting there.
early 2016 and became his quote business partner. Eventually, Elle and Keegan's relationship turned romantic and they got married in 2018. So for all the rumors saying that she is the reason why the Key and Peele show ended are just false. The show ended in 2015 and she didn't come into the picture until over a year later. Now the rumors saying that
Okay, so now the timelines don't add up. So dude, what are you trying to tell me from this video? What is the point of the video then? He just disputed his old video. He said she couldn't have had anything to do with Key and Peele splitting because the show ended before they even really got together. Right.
that she might be the reason why they didn't continue working together, well, that's entirely different. What you'll notice is that as Elle became more present in Keegan's career, Jordan started becoming more distant, because remember, Keegan and Jordan worked together.
But again, I feel like that's because he started finding success directing and writing. So he went all in on that. And Keegan wasn't doing that. So naturally, they're going to be on two different wavelengths. Naturally, they're just going to be separate because they're doing two completely different things. That just makes sense to me. I feel like that's not a conspiracy.
2022 on that animated show, but shortly after, everything changed. And it all centers around a book that Keegan and Elle co-authored called The History of Sketch Comedy, a journey through the art and craft of humor, which by the way is everyone's favorite subject, comedians talking about comedy. Well, one comedian at least. This book discusses subject matter that Keegan-Michael Key is undoubtedly an expert in, and aptly features him on the cover. They also created a podcast alongside this book. The credits describe Elle as the creator, writer, and director, whereas Key is simply just a performer and co-writer. To be clear, Elle Key has essentially no experience in sketch comedy, and has literally never said anything funny in her entire life. The idea that one of the greatest sketch comedy masterminds was portrayed as second fiddle to his wife in a podcast about sketch comedy was mind-boggling to say the least. But the project was well
I do agree with that, but again, that
received.
that just proves that she's using him to find success where she otherwise would not have had it. Again, we're just proving that, okay, maybe she is power hungry, narcissistic, maybe manipulative. I can't talk. Maybe manipulative. My God damn. But this doesn't prove that she's the wedge between Key and Peele. It just shows that she's using him, Keegan, for her own success. That's what this is proving to me.
They won a Webby Award for Best Writing in a Podcast. When accepting, Elle gave a 5-word long speech that she couldn't do without crying, and Keegan did not get to say anything.
Find someone who inspires you.
Okay, I thought that was sweet. Like, I don't think that's a negative thing. I feel like if he wanted to say something, he could have said it. Like, I feel like because it was, her project, he was letting her have the spotlight.
They also did an interview on Late Night with Stephen Colbert, where she sat first chair next to the host, and Key was off to the side as if she was the guest and he didn't belong. Now, to some, it seems like Keegan is merely being a respectful and generous husband, using his status to elevate his wife and portray her as his equal.
I think we've both discovered that if we work on something together, it's better. Is that?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah.
Duh. You're nobody compared to him. So of course, if you do something with him, it's going to do better than if you do something by yourself. Okay. I digress.
But to others, based on Akila's story, they see her as manipulating and forcing her way into creative spaces she otherwise would have never been a part of. Keegan's wording in this interview is particularly interesting. At first, he comes off endearing, but he also inadvertently admits that his wife uses him to advance her own career.
As you said, all good doors like lead to Al and her opening that.
Yeah, she opened. Yeah, it's like I'm the key, and she knows where the doors are. So you just have to have the courage to put the key in the door. It's always
you don't have to have the courage. She has the courage. She just needs you, the key itself.
wonderful you have someone in your life who can show you where the doors are.
But it goes one step further, because it seems like Keegan has adopted the stereotypical wife guy personality, similar to Will Smith or Akash Singh, where the central focus of his identity is surrounding his less famous and less successful partner. Backstage at Stephen Colbert, they did one of those classic couples games where they see if they know each other really well, only for Key to completely second guess himself or outright say his wife was right every time they had opposing opinions.
Who said I love you first?
You ready?
Ready.
3, 2, 1. Huh.
Oh. Okay. I guess it was me.
To some, he is just being sweet. To others, he looks pathetic. Like when Keegan was asked.
I feel like it's just one of those things where you're like, he's probably playing one of those, you know, the wife's always right role. I don't know. But I feel like we're not really getting any closer to how this separates Key and Peele. I feel like this is mainly about, you know, Keegan and his wife's relationship and how she's using him, you know, to manipulate him and find success in what, you know, she wants to do. I'm not hearing too much about how she's the driving force between the separation of, you know, Key and Peele.
Asked what he was most proud of in his entire career, then changed his mind to what his wife said should be his most prideful moment.
What is Keegan's proudest accomplishment? I think this is it. Ready?
She's
3,
gonna be right. And
3, and you're gonna be.
If you can believe it, I'm going to be wrong.
3, 2, 1.
She's right.
And if that didn't convince,
he hosted SNL. Again, he's fine. He's successful. Hosting SNL is a big thing. I ain't gonna lie.
You, there's another moment where the 50
Saturday Night Live is one of my I don't watch it as much anymore. I don't even know if they still come on, honestly, but I used to really enjoy it.
year-old man says his wife even picks out his clothes because he can't do it.
Impeccably attired. I want to know what percentage of this is your choice versus.
I mean, me personally, if I had a wife that had great fashion sense, I would also let her pick out all my clothes because I don't have that fashion sense. I dress regular, like, so safe, if you want to, safe, if you will. I dress safe. I would love to be able to put on like some, you know, fashionable, eccentric clothing. I just don't have the talent or skills to put that together. So if I had a wife who did that well, hell yeah, I will let her dress me.
Your wife's choice, because I know that your wife, Elle.
Look, yes, my wife, Elle, is here. She is here. She's right over here. Yes. My wife, Elle, has impeccable taste. So I'm one of those people who likes to leave things to the experts. So everything on my body was chosen for me today to wear by Elle.
He seems to seek validation from his wife for literally everything, constantly looking at her to.
Yeah, kind of is true. He kind of is doing that, but I've seen a lot of people do that too. So I don't think it's that alarming that he's doing that.
Sure that he is saying the right thing.
I feel like it is.
Sometimes it's a challenge. Sometimes I meet her with a little bit of resistance, or a lot of resistance.
some resistance. So and she always remains patient with me.
The wife guy personality is often looked at as some sort of humiliation ritual because they publicly have to lower their own status and derive all of their self-worth around how lucky they are to be married to their wives. And although all of this can come across as completely cringe, it doesn't necessarily prove that Elle wedged herself between Keegan and Jordan Peele. TMZ reported that multiple sources connected to Keegan-Michael Key and Elle tell TMZ Akila's stand-up narrative is outlandish and fabricated nonsense. Akila fired back by posting screenshots of DMs, all entirely anonymous, of people trying to corroborate the narrative that Elle is a control freak. We had a whole fake script on set as a decoy to keep her busy and manipulate her while we shot the actual commercial. She kept his own mother and brother from.
You know how bad and obnoxious that you have to be? Like, you know how annoying you have to be for people to put effort into like getting you away so that they can get to the real work. Like, they have to distract you with fake work. They have to put you on what they call a dummy task to get so that they can do their real work, so that you won't get in the way or so that you won't annoy them. That's hilarious if that's true. That's hilarious if that's true.
Their wedding and systematically cut everyone who was close to him out of his life. So Locke was my godfather growing up and was best friends with my mother all through college, so he had a huge impact on my life until he remarried his now wife. She completely changed him and the way he treated close family and friends. Not too long after he remarried, he cut off my mom and even his own family in a way. It seems that people have entirely bought into the narrative that Keegan was this innocent comic legend whose career and friendship with Jordan Peele has been destroyed by his egomaniac wife who has to control every little thing about him. But not many people are willing to cast blame on Keegan himself, who seems to admit that he didn't know his own potential, didn't believe in himself, and even can't dress himself. Sure, you could call it pathetic.
I think that's a stretch. He didn't say he couldn't dress himself. He literally said he likes to give the work to the professionals. Like, he likes to let people who are good at it do what they're good at. So if there's someone better at, say, picking out your clothes than I am, and I want to look good, of course, I'm gonna let them do that. He didn't say he was holding himself back. He's doing everything he wants to do. He's constantly working. Why are we painting this narrative that he's like not doing anything? Like, he like went broke and fell off a cliff somewhere.
But maybe this guy genuinely would not have pursued anything after Key and Peele if it wasn't for his wife.
And I saw a video of him singing, and I was like, oh, he can really sing. I mean, this is amazing. I said he was like a sports car that's stuck in traffic. Like, he has all of this power and all of this energy, and like, what is he doing with it?
That's
I was
the best
like,
analogy.
why aren't you out there going 120 miles an hour? Like, why are you stuck where you are?
Since people were introduced to Keegan and Jordan as a comedic pair with incredible chemistry, it made fans assume that they were inseparable best friends off screen. So when Jordan became a successful director and Keegan didn't ascend in his career, it felt like there had to be some deeper reason, as if they weren't always just two individuals with separate career aspirations. People needed something or someone to blame to justify their career imbalances. Key became the simple answer to a complicated story, but Jordan Peele's strategic silence on all of this leaves so much room for speculation. Until Jordan comes out and says all these rumors are baseless lies and that he and Keegan are still great friends, people are gonna run with the narrative that Key is to blame for all of this. If anything, Key and Peele is a reminder that sometimes your favorite duos aren't best friends, but rather just co-workers who happen to make magic together for a brief moment in time. It reminds me a lot of Drake and Josh, who appeared to be best friends on screen, but behind the scenes was an entirely different story. But check out this video to hear about that. Fans were shocked.
I mean, I think we're reaching. My honest opinion, after watching the whole thing, I think we're reaching. The whole video, not a single piece of evidence was actually provided. No proof was actually shown that they are not friends or that she has anything to do with them not being friends, or I just think we're reaching. I think it's a stretch to say that they're not friends. I think they probably still are friends. They're just not as close because they don't work as closely as they did, which makes sense. But I don't think that they're not friends, and I don't think that she's trying to drive them apart. I don't think she's done that. I think she's just concerned with herself. I think Keegan's wife just wants success for herself. You know, she couldn't care less about, you know, the relationship between Key and Peele. That's my opinion. I feel like we're reaching. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this. Definitely gonna do some more reactions. Hey, look, this is the new video. This is the first video of the new channel. Let me know what you think. I think they're reaching. I really think they're reaching. I don't think this video proved anything. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But yeah. See you.